talking about interviewing friends, relatives, employees of the motel, employees in restaurants or service stations around the motel.
On a late Friday evening, on September 12, 1980, 22-year-old Rose Burkett, a nurse trainee and single mother, along with 32-year-old Roger Atkinson, a telephone installer repairman, were a couple from Missouri, and the two of them had traveled to the state of Iowa to plan a romantic weekend getaway to spend more intimate time together. As the couple were nearby in Williamsburg, they had stumbled upon the Amana Holiday Inn. Deciding on this inn as the perfect place to spend their weekend, the couple walked inside hoping to book a room. What they didn't realize at the time was that the inn was exceptionally busy that weekend due to a mortician's conference taking place. Still, they soon realized that the inn was booked solid as the front desk attendant informed them that they were unable to book a room for the couple. The attendant then offered to double check the system to make sure if there was indeed a room available. Both Rose and Roger agreed to this and waited as the attendant was busy checking rooms and reservations. A few moments later, the attendant informed them that they were in luck. It appeared that there had been a cancellation, leaving one of the rooms available to be booked. The couple were ecstatic at this moment and happily agreed to rent the only vacant room in the inn. But what appeared to be a spark of luck would actually soon be a fatal mistake.
It's a case making national headlines: the mysterious murders of two people at a hotel in Amana.
The next day, a housekeeper found the couple inside room 260, murdered.
Once they officially booked the room at around 7:40 p.m., the couple then received a key engraved with the letters Room 260. Afterwards, they made their way towards the room and went inside of it for the night. Nothing unusual was reported later that same night, and it wasn't until shortly after noon the following day that one of the inn housekeepers arrived at room 260. And it is also important to note that this room was only accessible from inside the building. The housekeeper attempted to get inside of the room, but found it locked. They then proceeded to knock on the door several times, but received no answer. The housekeeper then went to get a pass key from the inn manager, and soon returned to the room where both Rose and Roger were staying the previous night. Upon opening the room revealed an unusual sight. The room was completely dark. The television was still on, clothing on the floor, and some of the furniture were displaced. The housekeeper took a quick glance at the room and saw feet at the end of the bed. At first, they assumed that the people inside of the room were still asleep, and so quietly peered further into the room. What the housekeeper saw inside of that room caused them to immediately slam the door shut as they ran quickly out of there. What they saw was that there was blood splattered all across the bed's headboard, the walls, and the carpet. Upon notifying the inn manager of this disturbance, the Iowa County Sheriff's Department was soon dispatched to the Amana Holiday Inn, where the incident took place. The details that follow after examination of the room will surely give you chills. Both Rose and Roger were found face down on the bed, with the back of their skulls slashed and caved in by repeated blows from a blunt weapon, most likely an axe or hatchet that could have done these injuries to the skull. Upon further reviewing, Roger's hand also revealed that he had several severed fingers, indicating that he tried to protect his head from the attacker, which resulted in the dismemberment of his fingers. None of the victim's personal belongings were taken, but $200 in cash were stolen from Roger's wallet. A medical examiner ultimately determined that the couple died of hemorrhaging as a result of severe brain injuries. What was odd about this case was that the room showed no signs of forced entry. The door was perfectly intact and showed no evidence of breaking in via brute force or breaking the handle. Additionally, two chairs were sat next to the bed, possibly indicating that there was another individual, or two, in that room who may have carried on a conversation with the couple prior to the incident. Even stranger, the back of the bathroom door was marked with a single word, but what appeared to be drawn using a soap bar. The word drawn on the door simply stated, "This." In addition, there was a tube of toothpaste that had been emptied into the bathtub. The sink was also covered in blood as well. After newspapers headlining this case was brought to the public's attention, rumors started to stir up and circulated across communities and other media outlets. One person of interest in the case was Rose's ex-boyfriend, Danny Burton. He was of interest to the authorities due to him being kicked out of her home due to his alleged abuse of drugs. There was also a report that he had been stalking her for a few weeks before the incident at the inn took place, evident by Rose having a record of filing a complaint with the Andrew County Sheriff's Department. She even told him that she would, quote, end up dead because of her ex. Growing more fearful for her safety, Rose had gotten a dog to have an extra sense of protection. But one day, she came home to a tragic scene. The dog was found hanging and butchered in front of her home. Despite these alarming red flags, her ex-boyfriend had an alibi and even passed a polygraph, which ruled him out as a suspect in the case. The next person of interest was Roger's uncle, a convicted serial killer named Charles Hatcher, who had recently escaped from a Nebraska psychiatric center at the time. But due to his past criminal history and record, it was unlikely that he was a culprit for this incident, as it did not align with his, well, let's just say, usual criminal activities. Another individual that was of interest in the reports was a woman named Marcella. Here's the thing. Roger was actually married to this woman, and he was having an affair with Rose when they planned their weekend trip to Iowa. It was said by their friends and family that their marriage together had some difficulties, with Marcella growing increasingly suspicious that Roger was cheating behind her back, even outright confronting him one day. Roger replied to this confrontation by saying, quote, no one in particular, but there are 2 or 3 women in the Savannah area. Then, Marcella responded by asking if he was considering a divorce, with him simply stating, I don't know. Roger's brother and sister had also pointed out that Marcella was the type of person that, quote, stood to cash on life insurance policies. Also noting that after the murders took place, Marcella had hired her own private investigators. Unclear for what their purpose was, but in the end, was able to successfully secure double indemnity life insurance money. While the authorities concluded that while there may have been a motive, Marcella did have an alibi, as she was babysitting in Missouri the same weekend the incident took place, something she did often for extra income. In the meantime, about 400 people, including guests and Holiday Inn employees, had already been questioned, and the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation released a statement that teletypes were being sent out to other states in an effort to locate any similar crimes for a possible connection, with it being concluded that neither guns or drugs were involved in the deaths. FBI agents from Missouri and Illinois had now begun assisting in the case. With the help of their aid, the authorities were able to connect this incident to 2 other cases that had occurred prior. The first one was on June 24, 1980, involving the homicide of a 25-year-old male in Galesburg, Illinois. The second case was on October 26, 1970, and it was also classified as a homicide, with the victim being a 23-year-old male located in Meriden, Mississippi. The reasoning behind their supposed connection was that all 3 cases listed involved the victims being away from their homes. Toothpaste was found in an unusual location somewhere in the scene. An axe or hatchet-like instrument was suspected of being used, and money was taken from the victims as well. Despite this apparent connections, the cases had proven to be incredibly perplexing. In fact, it has still remained unsolved even to this day, over 4 decades later.
I would say there's a motive, obviously. What that might be, we're still debating among ourselves.